This is Alexis, Crime Diary, and this is the story of one of America's coldest cases, the disappearance of the Sodder children. It was Christmas 1945, and the Sodder family was one of the happiest in Fayetteville, West Virginia. But Christmas morning brought not presents, but a nightmare. That night, their house burned to the ground, and 5 of the 10 Sodder children vanished. Police called it a tragedy, but in the ruins of the fire, not a single bone was found. This wasn't a simple disappearance. This was a mystery that shook America and remains unsolved to this day, because the Sodders believed it wasn't just flames, it was a kidnapping. George and Jenny Sodder were immigrants from Italy who had built a beautiful life, 10 children, a thriving business. George was a very proud but also superstitious man. They lived in a 2-story house on the outskirts of town. Shortly before Christmas, George was threatened. A certain insurance salesman said the house would burn to the ground and the children would be destroyed because of his anti-fascist views. On December 24th, everyone except Marion, the eldest daughter, went upstairs to sleep. Jenny put her youngest daughter Sylvia down next to her. She was only 2 years old at the time. But around midnight, Jenny woke up first to a phone call in George's office. Someone had dialed the wrong number. On her way back to the bedroom, she noticed the doors to the house were unlocked and the lights were on. She locked the doors, turned off the lights, and returned to bed. Then she was awakened by a loud thud on the roof. She didn't think much of it and fell right back asleep. Around 1:30 a.m., she woke up to the smell of smoke. Only George and Jenny, Marion, Sylvia, George Jr., and John managed to make it outside. The other children remained upstairs in their bedrooms. The staircase from their rooms was engulfed in flames. George rushed to the ladder that was always kept beside the house so he could climb through the window to his children, but for unknown reasons, it wasn't there. Then he decided to drive one of his 2 trucks over and climb up from it, but neither of them would start, even though they had been working perfectly fine just that afternoon. The fire burned the house to the ground in just 45 minutes. Right from the start of the investigation, incredible oddities emerged. The main theory for the cause of the fire was faulty wiring, even though the lights were still on during the fire. First, the telephone lines had been cut before the fire. Second, a neighbor who called the fire department experienced a delay of several hours. Third, George's truck, which wouldn't start, later started without any problems when it was checked. The search for bodies didn't begin until 7 hours later. Police and the fire inspector declared that the 5 children had perished in the fire, but no human remains were found at the scene except for a few very small bone fragments and internal organs. An expert concluded these fragments were insufficient for 5 children. Moreover, the temperature of the fire was not high enough to completely destroy bodies. Jenny Sodder refused to believe in their deaths. She hadn't seen bodies, hadn't smelled anything. The threats came flooding back to her memory. The Sodders' theory: the children were kidnapped. The family spent years and all their money on a private investigation. They put up a billboard with photos of the children. In 1967, the investigation was reopened. A new piece of evidence was found that confirmed George's doubts. The bones found in the ruins did not belong to the children. In 1967, Jenny received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a photo of a young man who resembled their grown son Louis, with an inscription on the back, "Louis Sodder. I love Brother Frankie. Boys a 90132. Jenny and George sent a private investigator, but it yielded no results. George died in 1968 without learning the truth. Jenny continued to wait and believe. She died in 1989. The billboard with the children's photos stood on the highway until 1989. The case is closed but not solved. The children and grandchildren continued their investigation. The youngest and last living Sodder child at present, Sylvia, who was 9 years old as of 2012, continues to believe that her brothers and sisters did not perish in the fire. So what do you think? Was it faulty wiring or arson? Did the 5 Sodder children really burn to ashes, or were they actually kidnapped